A very good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We will have to start this final day of plenary conference where we are spotlighting power, focusing on electricity and energy access. Someone has said that we are actually, if we look at it critically, might not be that energy poor as we think, but the challenge we'll be having is that of access of energy to the people who need it. Maybe as a result of lack of infrastructure, or perhaps lack of purchasing power. But I think purchasing power wouldn't really be the issue here. Certain people have demonstrated in recent times that when so we've seen cases where certain experts or professionals have proven that if you take electricity, constant electricity to the poorest of the poor, they find a way to pay for electricity. Then if it's subsidized, you even do one more better for them. I always like to reference this particular case where a community somewhere in Edo State, according to their recorded history, has not seen electricity in 200 plus years. Well, last year or 2 years ago, they not only got electricity, they got constant electricity. All thanks to very small IPP projects that a certain individual who has been sitting through these conferences, this type of conferences over the years, decided to not just be hearing the solutions, but play a part in providing those solutions, and that would be Professor Morigwe. Professor Morigwe took the bull by the horn and went and started business in these local communities. Not just the one I'm referencing is one of many communities that her company is providing power to in Edo State, So, and in the video I saw, the documentary that captured the moment, you could see people who are leaving, perhaps around the borders, below the borders of the poverty line. They were willing to pay and are already paying for the electricity. So sometimes when people say it's purchasing power, I then ask, if you give them the power every day, will they not be willing to pay for constant electricity? We all need electricity. If you've ever flown into a country where it's pitch black, pitch dark, Your Excellency, you're welcome, sir. Chief Adebayo Adelabu, you're welcome, sir. The Honorable Minister of Power, thank you so much for joining us. Now that you are here, we're good to go. Thank you very much. Please, can I ask that we just simmer down a bit? Thank you very much. Kindly, can we all just, can we cut on the networking conversations now? We want to start the session. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, those talking by the door, thank you very much. Thank you. We love your voices, but please, Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So our session rather will be this. We'll open the session with an address from the Special Advisor to the President on Energy. Her address will be followed by an address by the Honorable Minister for Power, after which the panel, moderated by the Chairman of the Nigerian Association of Energy Correspondents, will take center stage and do justice to the discourse that will be set by the Special Advisor and the Honorable Minister. I'll be back in a jiffy to get us started shortly. Once again, Honorable Minister, you're welcome. I did say on Tuesday that one of the encouraging facts of our president's commitment to fix the country is that before he became president, he rallied a troop of experts in different sectors of the economy to set up a blueprint agenda that he would run with upon becoming president. I had the privilege before the elections to be in the room as master of ceremonies where some of those conversations were had with these experts proffering solutions to many of Nigerians' problems. And one of those experts who spoke, for our sector and the energy sector in general is the person who today the president has made his special advisor on energy. And I did say on Tuesday that it is my prayer that when such experts are advising the president, that political forces around the president would allow the president to heed the advice of such renowned experts to help move our country forward. So this renowned expert will be addressing us this morning as a special advisor to the president on energy, Mrs. Oluwaheyen. Mrs. Oluwaheyen is not able to join us this morning, but not to worry. She's also assembled a team of industry experts who are working with her, and one of them used to be one of the managers at Walter Smith Group, while currently serving with Oluwaheyen as the team lead on power. Let's welcome Mrs. Erie Onogorowa. She'll be speaking on behalf of Olu. That way, please.
The Honorable Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, Captains of Industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my profound honor to deliver this speech on behalf of the Special Advisor on Energy to the President, Mrs. Olu Arolo Vehai, dedicated to discussions on bridging energy gap in Africa. This event gives us an opportunity to explore and co-create innovative and practical solutions to eliminate energy poverty within our continent. The quest to bridge this gap is crucial and cannot be overstated. It is indeed important for fostering economic prosperity and ensuring social fairness for all. Bringing it back home, specifically in Nigeria, despite all the interventions from the government on subsidies, over 100 million Nigerians still do not have access to consistent and affordable electricity. This lack of access directly impacts their ability to achieve meaningful income growth, as the lack of reliable electricity limits productivity and restricts economic expansion. The parallel between the number of people living in poverty and those without access to electricity in Nigeria is not accidental. Clearly, the link between electricity consumption and economic development is well established across different countries with different income strata. In order to drive this point home, I'd like us to look briefly at a couple of slides. Actually, 2 slides. The first one shows us the energy consumption per capita. We see South Africa leading the pack with about 23,392 kilowatt hour annually, which comes to about 1,949 kilowatt hour monthly. Closely followed by Egypt, 9,639 kilowatt hour annually, comes to round about 800 kilowatt hour per month. Morocco, 7,237 kilowatt hour annually, comes to about 600 kilowatt hour monthly. Nigeria, last and certainly the least, 2,548 kilowatt hour annually, translates to round about 212 kilowatt per month. If we look at the figures on the right, the OECD tells us that what is allowable annually is about 35,211 kilowatt hour annually. Translates to round about 3,000 kilowatt monthly. The United States of America does 78,754 kilowatt hour annually, 6,563 kilowatt monthly. I thought this was useful to actually draw the nexus between the impact of electricity on economic growth and industrialization. I want us to look at the table. We put together household appliances and the cost per month and the kilowatt hour. If we look at a fridge, it consumes about 205 kilowatts a month. And that's about 35,260 naira. So if an individual is able to only consume 212 kilowatts per month from the grid, he can only use one household appliance with a minimum wage of less than $3. He's spending most of his minimum wage on only one household appliance. It is then interesting to note that other developed countries continue to grow in terms of income per capita, productivity, and job creation. The economic impacts of energy poverty on economic development cannot be overstated. Clearly, businesses that operate in environments like Nigeria continue to struggle with high operational cost and lower productivity, making them less competitive both globally and locally. This in turn clearly affects job creation and limits income growth opportunities. And for households, the lack of access to clean and reliable energy sources has profound implications for education and health, which remain important determinants of economic mobility. We find and we've seen pictures of students struggling to read in the dark, hospitals operating on generators, stretched to the limit, and unable to perform at full capacity. How then can we rethink energy access? To effectively tackle the issue of energy access in Nigeria and throughout Africa, we must broaden our perspective on what constitutes electricity access. Indeed, the conventional benchmark of being able to light a household bulb must change because it falls short of encapsulating the full impact and necessity of energy for Africa's economic growth. And so when PHCN takes light and they bring back the light, and most people say, Watimode, light is back. We must move beyond that. We must understand that while achieving household electrification is a vital step that enhances living standards, it merely scratches the surface of the energy sector's potential to transform societies. Clearly, real energy access goes beyond household lighting because it seeks to enable a diverse array of activities that are fundamental to modern existence and economic progress. And I say not just fundamental, but they are fundamental to the human dignity of an individual. And so we must look at powering businesses, machinery, computers, industrial equipment essential for today's economy. The goal is to provide reliable, affordable, and clean energy at a scale and pace that fosters economic expansion, job creation, and increased incomes across Nigeria and the wider continent. For Africa to unlock its full economic capabilities, energy solutions must be scalable and sustainable. They must support both urban and rural economies. It is clear that the urban society cannot grow without the rural economies. And this vision must go beyond home lighting to energizing industries. It demands a sturdy, reliable, and scalable grid infrastructure that can supply the vast amounts of clean, cost-effective energy needed to fuel industrial advancement, spur employment, and encourage innovation. Clearly, redefining energy access involves adopting a comprehensive strategy that prioritizes a complete energy ecosystem, powering every aspect of economic activity beyond household needs. What then is the path to prosperity? How can we grow productive use of electricity and job creation? Nigeria's macroeconomic difficulties and unreliable power supply have severely impacted the productivity of the commercial and industrial sectors. Over the years, this has resulted in a low productive use of electricity. This situation has led to a scenario where a disproportionate amount of the available power is consumed by the residential sector, which accounts for more than 70% of final electricity consumption. Furthermore, over 70% of Nigerians live below the middle income international line of poverty, which is set at about $3.20 per day, rendering them unable to afford electricity access. The implication of this is a largely poor residential customer base, resulting in limited revenue for utilities. This in turn exacerbates the issue of reliability and affordability, as utilities find themselves unable to reinvest in expanding and enhancing the electricity infrastructure. To address these challenges and unlock the economic potential of Nigeria's energy sector, it is crucial to shift our focus towards growing the productive use of electricity, particularly in our commercial and industrial sectors. These sectors clearly have a higher capacity to pay cost-reflective tariffs and are crucial for powering productivity and competitiveness. By enhancing access to reliable electricity for these sectors, we can stimulate job creation and increase economic and income growth. Successful businesses in these sectors are clearly likely to pay higher jobs, improving the purchasing power and credit worthiness of the population. Moreover, in areas where off-grid technology presents a competitive alternative to central grid supply, particularly in rural areas with no central grid infrastructure and low levels of electricity consumption, our policies should ensure that technologies are innovative, forward-thinking, and mindful of the demographics in the Nigerian society. This strategic focus not only aims to lift people out of poverty, but also strengthen the financial viability of the energy sector. What is the Nigerian government under Mr. President doing at the moment? Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we are currently addressing foundation problems that, when resolved, will help in increasing energy access to Nigerians. I'll discuss two of them briefly. A multi-agency team involving the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Budget and Planning, the Ministry of Power, and the Office of the Special Advisor on Energy is actively pursuing reforms and initiatives aimed at expanding access to electricity and enhancing its productive use. A key focus of these efforts is addressing the outstanding debts to all the various sectors of the electricity value chain. And clearly, this is a move designed to encourage the consistent and continued availability of power. This strategy is expected to bolster the financial health of the GENCOs and lead to an increase in electricity production across the nation. Secondly, my office plays a pivotal role in providing secretarial and coordination support for the Presidential Metering Initiative, a critical project launched by the federal government of Nigeria to tackle financial inefficiencies within the power sector. The PMI is set to revolutionize the electricity sector by deploying only smart meters, developing a locally designed metering communication system, establishing a meter data management system tailored to address key social challenges related to metering. The initiative aims to improve the financial viability and commercial operations of the DISCOs by fostering cost efficiency, improving revenue collection, and minimizing losses. One of the ambitious goals of the Presidential Metering Initiative is to reduce the aggregate technical, commercial, and collection losses, which are around about 47%, to globally accepted standards of between 12 to 15%. I will conclude by urging everyone to embrace a collective vision that transcends the basic goal of household electrification, to recognize and leverage the comprehensive, transformative potential of universal energy access. Our focus must broaden, our focus must change to include energy's role in powering productive activities that are the backbone of economic growth and job creation. More than just illuminating our homes, our goal should be to energize industries, empower businesses, and catalyze innovation. This innovation will in turn create employment opportunities with a ripple effect, increasing the number of paying customers and enhancing the financial sustainability of our energy sector. Furthermore, let us commit to converting our discussions into tangible, concrete strategies that can drive meaningful change. By doing so, we lay the groundwork for a future where Nigeria, and indeed all of Africa, can enjoy the fruits of sustainable development, environmental stewardship, and economic prosperity. It is through our unified efforts, collective efforts as individuals, communities, that we can bridge the formidable energy gap, unlocking the boundless economic potential of our continent. I urge us to move forward with determination and creativity, fostering partnerships and innovations that will light up Africa in ways that we have only begun to imagine. Together, let's power our way to a brighter, more resilient future for every African citizen, ensuring that no one is left behind in our journey towards universal energy access. I thank you for listening. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Irie Onogorowa, Team Lead Power, Office of the SA on Energy to the President, Mrs. Olu Vahain, speaking on what that office is doing in galvanizing the stakeholders and ensuring, as she ended, that we light up Nigeria. You heard the Minister of Energy Ghana said yesterday that until Nigeria take her place of leadership in some of these challenges, we're not going anywhere as a continent. Again, it underscores what I said earlier, that His Excellency has headhunted experts to provide this support to his leadership. And can we please give Mrs. Vahayan and Onogorowa another round of applause? A former presidential candidate in the country once said that until technocrats begin to take political leadership serious, Nigeria would not make any progress. And our next speaker is one of such technocrats, a first-class chartered accountant, and a man who was headhunted by former President Goodluck Jonathan to be a deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, an entrepreneur in his own right, and has led both private entities and government agencies in the time past, providing stellar leadership qualities, and currently has been headhunted by the current president to deploy his accounting skills in helping solve our power problem. Please welcome with me His Excellency the Honorable Minister for Power Nigeria, Chief Adebayo Adelabu. As he's making his way up, let me acknowledge the presence of our Permanent Secretary of the Ministerial of Petroleum. You're welcome, Your Excellency. Mr. Ella, you're welcome. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. The Special Advisor to Mr. President on Energy, represented here by the Team Lead Power, Mrs. Irie Onogorowa, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, honorable guests, esteemed colleagues here present, distinguished stakeholders in the power sector, esteemed participants, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I crave your indulgence to allow me to lean on the already established full protocol. I'm actually honored to address you today as the Minister for Power of the Federal Republic of Nigeria at this Nigeria International Energy Summit 2024. during the power and energy session focused on the critical theme of electricity for all, bringing the energy access gap. Access to electricity is undeniably a fundamental requirement for socio-economic development. And it is a pleasure to see so many dedicated individuals and experts gathered here in this hall to discuss strategies and solutions for bridging the energy access gap. In recent years, significant progress has been made globally in improving access to electricity. However, a substantial portion of the world population still faces challenges in obtaining reliable and affordable electricity. In Nigeria here, it is estimated that a whopping 92 million people are still suffering from energy poverty, which is over 40% of our estimated population. It is our collective responsibility to address this issue, as it has far-reaching implications for poverty alleviation, healthcare, education, and overall improvement in the quality of life, including the reduction in huge unemployment rates in our society. The importance of adequate, reliable, functional, and affordable electricity can never be overemphasized. Without it, beyond exaggeration, there's virtually anything that will work. All our potentials in human resources, our potentials in natural mineral resources can only be realized when they're fully energized. So it is so key to achieve significant economic growth and the desired industrial development. So it is no coincidence that most of the world-acclaimed developed nations focused on provision of adequate electricity for their society before they can achieve the kind of feats which they achieved in industrial development. A country like South Korea, which is just about 49 million people, generates about 130,000 megawatts of power. So which is why it is not surprising that the little firms of the 60s have grown to become industrial giants today. We talk about Daewoo, talk about Hyundai, talk about LG. They compete globally with other world giants in the industry. This power and energy session serves as a crucial platform for stakeholders to come together and collaboratively work towards the common goal of ensuring universal access to electricity. The outcomes of our discussions here are expected not only inform, but also inspire future initiatives, fostering sustainable development and improving the quality of life for millions around the world. As we delve into the focus areas of this session, let us first gain an overview of the current global scenario regarding energy access. Understanding the challenges faced by different regions and communities is crucial in developing our targeted solutions. We must also identify key barriers, including financial, infrastructural, and policy-related challenges, and discuss how technology and innovation can play a pivotal role in overcoming these obstacles. Moreover, it is essential to highlight successful initiatives that have significantly improved energy access and extract lessons learned from these experiences. By showcasing replicable models for wider implementation, we can inspire many more nations and communities to embark on similar transformative journeys. Renewable energy sources are a cornerstone in expanding access to electricity sustainability. During our discussions, let us also explore the role of renewable energy and discuss how off-grid and decentralized energy systems can contribute to reaching remote areas where traditional grid systems may not be feasible. This is becoming more and more important in our society, where we have been having incessant disturbances on the grid. And also, a number of remote communities are also attractive to the existing distribution companies. So we believe that to reach these unserved and the underserved communities, our focus must also be on renewable energy and distributed power model. In identifying opportunities for public and private sector investments in the energy asset sector, we must also discuss innovative financing models and partnerships. Collaboration between governments, businesses, and international organizations is key to unlocking the full potential of our efforts. This sector must be attractive for equity investments and debt capital. Our model must be bankable to attract investors and lenders. Transforming the power sector, especially in our climate, requires a lot of investments. That could come from equity investments, local and foreign investors. They must also be able to attract lenders in terms of debt capital. The only way this will happen is when the investors and the lenders can have a line of sight that whatever money they inject into the sector will surely come back. In a situation where it is not attractive, it's actually a tall order to attract such huge funds from investors and lenders. So I urge all participants to actively engage in the discussions. We should share insights and propose solutions that can contribute to achieving universal access to electricity. Let us work together to bridge the energy access gap, ensuring that electricity becomes a reality for all, irrespective of our geographical location or socio-economic status. I would not want to conclude this short speech without addressing a couple of issues that we have in the power sector in Nigeria at the moment, and the efforts we're making at the Ministry of Power and our agencies to ensure we achieve a transformation in this sector. We have resolved to tackle the issues in the sector headlong and address the root cause of the problems in the sector without just cutting the branches of the problems or providing a facade solution like we have had in the past. In the past 50 to 60 years, we've had so many brilliant, smart, patriotic, and passionate ministers of power handling this sector. These are people that are actually determined to resolve the issues. But unfortunately, we're still roving around 3,000, 4,000 megawatts for a population of over 200 million. If you still remember the slide displayed by Iriye during our speech, it's quite unfortunate that Nigeria is at the low ebb of the hierarchy of nations in terms of power consumption, electricity provision or supply to households, to businesses, to industries. This has not only hindered our economic growth and industrial development, it has also denied our people access to a good life, which is why this administration, under the captain of the ship, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is determined to go to the root cause of these problems and solve it and resolve it once and for all. If you all listened to his New Year opening speech. Power was the number one issue that he addressed. And he didn't really fail to let the entire country know that power is at the core of his programs. And that is what he wants to use to drive the other sectors. It comes with time. It comes with pain. It comes with patience, trust, and confidence. Problems of 50, 60 years, it is tough to disappear in 6 months or 1 year. And we know that power investments are not really short-term investments. The incubation period is relatively longer than any other sector. To build a gas power plant today, Siemens is here. We take, in fact, the fastest will be 18 months to 24 months because we just need to start manufacturing the turbines, transport it down here, install it, get gas. Same thing with hydropower plants. We want to build a medium-sized dam today for hydropower. At the minimum, we're looking at between 3 to 7 years. So Nigerians must be patient. They must give us time to address this issue so we can achieve an enduring and sustainable solution to the problems of the sector. Nigerians voted for this government, and I believe that they had the belief that the team can do it. The can-do spirit has not left us. Mr. President has a very good antecedent with his performance in Lagos. If you could do that in Lagos, why can't he do it for the entire Nigeria? And he has arranged a team that's also ready to support him in finding sincere solutions to our problem, not just to address the symptoms. So in the Ministry of Power, beyond improving liquidity injection into the system through appropriate pricing, earlier mentioned the issue of commercial pricing, which is the cost reflective tariff. That's what happens in most countries. But pledging subsidy is not out of place. We know that it is not the most appropriate time to start talking about removing another subsidy. But whatever subsidy is pledged must be promptly, regularly paid as liquidity injection to the sector, so as to allow this sector to function in line with the natural economic flow of generation, transmission, distribution, billing, collection of payments. Liquidity flows into the system, and every participant in the value chain gets compensated. That's the only way we can ensure sustainable and continuous flow of the sector. In your own GENCOs, it will be difficult for them to sustain production. They also need raw materials. They need to buy gas. But when there's a debt overhang, how will they pay for the gas? So the issues must be resolved all along. The value chain, every segment has its own issues. And what we have done is we have passed through the diagnosis stage. We already know what the problem is, so we should not waste time trying to beg the issues again. Our first 3 months in office was to engage stakeholders, to consult, hold retreats, and talk to almost everybody in the power sector. And we came up with, okay, these are the issues, and these are the solutions already documented comprehensively. So we have passed the stage of diagnosis. We have passed the stage of finding solutions. Now, lamentations must stop. Explanations must stop. We are at the stage of implementing and executing those solutions, which I believe in no time, Nigerians will start seeing the impact of these solutions. Briefly, let me tell you that, okay, we have problems in generation, we have some issues in transmission, and some hiccups too in distribution. What are we doing in these past few weeks? We are all aware that in generation now, we've just added the 700 megawatts from Zungeru hydropower. It's been commissioned. the concessioning has been concluded. We have handed over to the concessionaire. So in the next 1 to 2 weeks, they will start production. We already had a successful test run sometime last year. So we can produce 700 megawatts and evacuate it in addition to our power pool. That would be a major increase. We have the, thank you very much. We have the Kashibila power plant too. There's already completed 40 megawatts. We're already evacuating 10 megawatts, which is being used around the Taraba area. But we have a surplus 30 megawatts, which we need to complete the evacuation infrastructure to ensure that this 30 megawatts is also wheeled onto the national grid. This is something that we believe will improve our power supply. And again, we have about 26 small hydro plants across the country, which have been abandoned, completed dams. They've been abandoned for years. We are revisiting these dams now, and we believe that in a period of 12 to 18 months, all of them will be revamped, and they will add so much to our national grid. We have gone a step forward to ensure that, the problem with small dams is about water levels during the dry season. We are going to hybridize these farms with solar PV panels so that we can manage the water levels during the dry season. During the daytime, we can actually use the solar PV to generate power. When it is in evening and sunlight comes down, we switch to the hydro, in which case this will give us regular power supply throughout the year. And we also have the abandoned 15 solar IPPs that was started a couple of years ago. We are revisiting this to ensure that in the northern parts of the country, we're able to have small clusters of IPP solar plants to generate at the minimum 50 megawatts in each location across 15 states. That's additional 750 megawatts. And I'm telling you that even the country's NIPP plants under the control of Niger Delta Power Holding Company, about 10 of them, 7 is operating effectively. They have a capacity of almost 5,000. But I can tell you that they are all operating below 15% capacity. I've visited the plants. Out of 6 turbines, 1 will be working. Especially, Olon should go. Out of 4 turbines, 1 was working. So what we want to do is to ensure that we reach a resolution with the gas supply companies to ensure that we clear the debt overhang to a large extent, and we have firm gas supply contracts to these plants so that we can upgrade their capacity utilization to nothing less than 50%. That will give us nothing less than 2,500. With all this, Nigeria can generate nothing less than 8,000 megawatts of power, and that can be transmitted and distributed without adding any additional plants. In all, we have a total of almost over 13,000 megawatt capacity installed for our power plants, both the hydro and the gas power plants. So once all those hiccups are resolved, we can actually double electricity supply in Nigeria within a period of 12 to 18 months. And this will perform wonders in increasing supply to the doorsteps of households, businesses, cottage industries, artisans, and industries. That's for generation. We are also looking at the coastal cities, the possibility of wind farms along the coastal cities of Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, Edo, Delta, Rivers, Bayelsa, and Cross River. Already, we have a solar wind hybrid plant that is even completed in Katsina today that can supply us 20 megawatts of power. That's a proof of concept. It's a pilot project. And to a large extent, it's been successful. So we want to ensure that we deploy this to the coastal areas too. Then on transmission, it's general knowledge now that we just signed the accelerated agreement with Siemens on our presidential power initiatives at COP28 in Dubai. I mean, Siemens rep is here. We are going back to that project. Not just going back alone, but with full force and achieving accelerated implementation or execution of the project objectives. We're almost done with the pilots, which involved importation of 10 transformers and 10 mobile substations. Just 2-3 days ago, I commissioned 5 of these transformers. 560 MVA transformers in 5 different locations. I was in Okene, Kogi. I was in Delta, Yobe, even in Abuja, Apo, and Yobo in Benin. By this singular act of Tuesday, this week, we added 272 megawatts to the capacity of our transmission grid. So I believe that if we are consistent with all these little steps, with time, it becomes significant and everybody will enjoy power in Nigeria. We also have the JICA, that's the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, that is already handling the Lagos-Abeokuta corridor for us to improve the transmission capacity of our national grid. This is a multi-million-dollar project and execution is already starting. Once we get to a very impressive stage on this project, there will be major improvement in our transmission capacity along the industrial corridor of Lagos, Shagamu, and Abeokuta. Still on that, we have experienced a number of collapse in our transmission grid in the past few months. A lot of them due to sabotage, deliberate demolition of the power lines, the power towers. But most importantly, it was due to the fragility of our transmission grid. Today in Nigeria, the grid we have was built 1968 to 7, almost about 50 years ago, without so much of maintenance. The lines are weak, the towers are old, the substations are, there are substation carrying transformers with ECN logo on them. For the very old ones among us, they will understand what I mean by ECN. It is Electricity Company of Nigeria of 1964, 1965. Transformers installed since then, they are still there. How do we expect optimal performance? So we believe that we need what is called a super grid, which is a failover or a backup grid. When there's a problem on our normal grid, power can be diverted to a backup grid. That's what happens in advanced countries. There's no country where you have national grid that they will not experience grid disturbance. There must be grid disturbance. It is engineering, it is electrical. There will be tripping off of substations, transformers, technical reasons. There will be operational reasons, balancing frequency between product generation and their consumption. But they use what is called SCADA. That's the security control and data acquisition software, which we have started implementing in Nigeria. In the last 20 years, we have not completed. So the automated management of frequency on your transmission grid, it is necessary. And I'm assuring you that in my time, it will be completed. Inshallah. We're already having support from the World Bank, and they give us, within 24 months, we're going to complete that. Then we have started discussing super grid projects with 2 Chinese firms. In fact, we just had another meeting yesterday. That's the TBA and the ECC. Whereby, I mean, it's not a short-term project. It's 3 to 5 years project. But they say that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step in the right direction. So once we have a super grid, it will contribute to the strengthening and capacity enhancement of our national grid. And I believe that grid collapse will be a thing of the past in Nigeria. And I also want to use this opportunity to appeal to Nigerians that one thing that happens here in Nigeria that never happens anywhere in the world is to deliberately demolish our own collective power assets. We have had more than 10 instances in the last 2 months of our brothers blowing up power towers, blowing up, bringing down power lines. Why won't you have a grid collapse? It's happened in Yobe, in Bauchi, in Nasarawa, even in Abuja. It happened last week. I'm sure some of you are aware of this, which has affected even power supply in Abuja. These are assets built with our national fund, which we must jealously protect. It is funny, while some people are trying to build the nations, some people are trying to bring the nation down. It's an act of sabotage, and it does not go well for us as a nation. Beyond sabotage, some actually bring them down for resale. You go to electricity markets, you see transformers stolen from one community, you see power cables stolen from, you see electric poles stolen all over. It will be tough for us to achieve the kind of momentum that we desire in the power sector if all these deliberate acts of sabotage and theft continue. So it is not a job for Power Ministry alone, nor our agencies, nor for the SA to present on energy. It is a collective responsibility. When you see something, you just have to say something to help us as a nation. Then lastly, the distribution. We know that this is the big elephant in the room. And they say that a chain is as strong as its weakest link. This is actually our weakest link in the power sector because they are the closest to the consumers of power. They have to be up and doing. We have already come up with a strategy that this cost must be arranged or restructured along state lines so that every state government, every state ministry of energy, every state electricity board, and every state board of rural electrification must know who they are dealing with. Generation, transmission, these are all sales segments in the value chain. We can handle it from the federal government and the Ministry of Power and our agencies. When it comes to distribution, the subnational government must be involved. That is the retail end of the value chain. We have seen what happened in Abia State. That's one of our core strategies of encouraging distributed power so that every state not only involved in distribution, when you are not satisfied with our power supply from the federal, you can establish your own power plants. Just 141 megawatts of power geometrics with capacity to be upgraded to 188 can serve the whole of Abia State. Yes. Before now, Abba was getting 50 megawatts supply from our Calabar plant to APL, that's Abba Ring Fence Disco. Just 50. Now they have 141. So the excess will not only be used by Umuahia and other cities in Abia, but can also contribute to the grid. If every state has 100 megawatts in Nigeria, we're talking about, 3,600 megawatts. The energy poverty will disappear, and we can only get better with it. Then, we are saying that this discourse must recapitalize. They need to bring fund into the sector. The only money they brought into this sector was the money they paid for acquisition of the discourse. They have not brought money to invest, and power investment is huge investment. To establish a 330 kV substation, a 132 kV substation today in Nigeria costs over $50 million. To install 100 kilometers of 33 kV lines or 11 kV lines, it costs tens of millions of dollars. So if the discos are really serious and they want to rise up to their billings, they must bring money. They must reinvest money, either through equity injection or debt capital, so that they can fix all the log jams, the hiccups in the distribution network across the states. And the state government must be active. They know where the transformers are weak. They know where the power lines have deteriorated. They know where the poles are falling. They are closer to the people. Adelabu cannot sit in Abuja and know what is happening to transformers in millions of communities outside Abuja, across 36 states. So, and the Electricity Act of 2023 has allowed this. The president, the government has done what they're supposed to do, moving this power sector from the exclusive legislative list to concurrent, so that every level of government can play in it. Every private sector, they can play in it. So what are we waiting for? We have the enabling act to do this. And I believe that we will use Abia State as a point of contact to appeal to all state governments to start playing their role. There are electoral promises to their people during their campaign that they will provide power. So they must start working with us, collaborating with us, cooperating with us, and partnering with us. I just met with all the 36 state commissioners 2 days ago in my office on Wednesday. And I passed this message across to them. Gone are the days when you leave everything to government. We must start devolving this power to the states, because they are the closest to the people. And to round up on the discourse, we also promise, as I'm standing here today, that we will start intervening in terms of provision of certain infrastructures when it comes to distribution network. We have generous provision in budget to intervene in transformers for communities, to intervene in electric poles, power cables, in areas that are not so attractive to the discourse. These are the underserved areas. Extending their grids to those areas may not be commercially viable for them, so they have been neglected over time. We'll do direct intervention, and I'm pledging to do that. Let's leave the issue of discourse. Let me round up with our rural electrification. Even though we are also saying that there will be licensing of smaller discos for small communities where the existing discos are not really making impact. And they're not touching. You don't have to revoke your license. But your catchment areas can be distributed when you are not performing. And we have facts to this effect. They cannot really argue with us. You just find out that at the end of the day, the license you are holding is just a small community that you are operating. After we have distributed other communities where you are not performing to other smaller discos. So we are already talking to discos to raise their game. But whatever we do in generation, in transmission, if it doesn't get to the last mile connection, Nigerians have not seen us doing anything. It's like we are just winking in the dark. So the discos are a major touch point for us. And I'm promising you that in my time, we're going to witness a transformation. To conclude, let me use the opportunity to mention that we're doing a lot in rural electrification. But we believe that electricity is the right of every Nigerian, irrespective of location, gender, or economic status. It's not just taking light to the rural area, solar street lights, solar home systems. There are businesses in the rural areas too that we must support. It's irrigation, small agricultural processing. They need power. But the national grid may not get to them, not in the foreseeable future, because of the commercial viability of those locations. You cannot install a 200 kilometer of 330 kV lines just to get to a community and you see just 10 clusters of houses and 3 businesses. No. But we have alternative to this, which is through our solar mini grids. And we also enjoy the support of a number of our development partners, the World Bank, Africa Development Bank, the JICA, AFD, that's the French Development Agency, and some other multilateral agencies to support us in extending electricity to these remote rural dwellers that are currently unserved or underserved. So we are talking about mini grids and micro grids for markets, for agri processing, for irrigation, looking at solar home systems and solar street lights. In this manner, we believe that Nigeria is on a journey to greatness as far as the power sector is concerned. And the trust and confidence you have in this government, please, let us maintain it. Just give us a little time. I mean, just a bit patient, and you see that power issues in Nigeria will soon become a thing of the past. Thank you very much, and I wish you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Chief Adelabu. Honorable Ministers, I can tell you for free that 10 years ago, when you said that in 12 months we would double the generation, the applause would have been rapturous in the room. But now Nigerians are cautious. But I believe you. I heard you on Monday. I'm hearing you today. You did not regurgitate what was said on Monday. You've also told us something that you're doing different from what was said in Aba on Monday. So thank you so much. Can we please give Honorable Minister another round of applause? We believe you. And the panel will quickly now dive into further discussions. Experts they are. And they would, I'm sure, profile more solutions that would add to what you're already doing in solving our nation's challenges. So please, let's welcome now, first off, on this panel, the Managing Director, Siemens Nigeria Limited, Mr. Sheon Suleiman. Yes, please. The Honorable Minister went on and on about your partnership with the ministry and helping us solve this problem. So thank you so much. Thank you. Managing Director, Schneider Electric Limited is here. Let's welcome Mr. Ajibola Akindele. You're welcome. Truly is a power-packed panel we have this morning. Joining them is Business Development Manager, Aviva Select West Africa. Let's welcome Mr. Shafi Drisu. You're welcome. Executive Director, Niger Delta Power Holding Company, committed to really solving this darkness problem is that agency. Let's welcome Engineer Ife Oluwa Oyedele. You're welcome. Joining them is a long-standing service company in this sector. Let us welcome Managing Director, News Engineering Limited, Lady Josephine Nweze. Joining them is the Executive Vice President, Gas, Power and New Energies of NNPCL, represented by the Chief Gas and Power Investment Officer of NNPC. Let's welcome Alhaji Jamari Salihu. He's sitting in for Mr. Lalekon Ogunle, of course, EVP. Joining them is the Country Manager, Power Africa, U.S. Trade and Development Agency. Let's welcome Ms. Laura Spector. Vice Chairman, African Energy Council is here. Let's welcome Dr. Chinan Dikwai. Managing Director, Total Energies Gas Renewable Power. Let's welcome Engineer Adewale Fayemi. You are welcome. To help us drive the conversation is the Chairman, Nigerian Association of Energy Correspondents, and an energy editor with Channels Television. Let's welcome Mr. Olu Phillips. Over to you.
All right, good morning, everybody. I think one place to start with is to say that over the last 7 years, being a consistent participant and sometimes moderating on this panel and several other panels, I think at this point it's important to mention that Brevity, Anderson, the conveners of this summit, have always taken a cue from what has happened every previous year to extend new frontiers for the conversations the upper year or the next year. Last year, I did remember asking for the expansion of this conversation to include the operators who make these decisions policy-wise, and I did also remember asking that if it was possible, let the Minister for Power be a member of this conversation. And I'm glad that we have the Minister of Power discussing with us today. I think Brevity Anderson deserves a round of applause for this. I'm still expecting to see an extension to that for those in the academia, because whilst we discuss transition energy, it's important to understand and know that our students and those who want to come over and play in this space and take over in terms of technology should also know what the curriculums are and have a new vista in terms of curriculum. So that aspect we're still expecting to happen, and I'm hopeful that perhaps next year we'll begin to see the academia very strongly represented in this conversation. Without much ado, I will dive quickly into this conversation. And one way to start is to ask Mr. Shehu here, who is representing Siemens. I know that that project, the G2G, that was started in 2019, was supposed to have a gestation period of 5 years or thereabout, where by 2025, which is next year, we should have been attaining the 25,000 megawatts of electricity. I'm sure that was killed from 7,000, 11,000 and thereabout. Whilst we want to know what has happened, tell us where we are today in terms of that accelerated signing that was done, for instance, in UAE by the president. I think that's one good place to respond to what the minister had to say. Mr. Shehu.
So I would first like to thank the minister, because I think he has made all our jobs on the panel easy. He has basically answered all the questions. So we'll keep to time, basically. If you recall, when the minister was discussing on the issue around the transmission, basically in Dubai at COP28, through the support of the Office of the Minister of Power, it was basically largely instrumental to ensuring that we move very quickly on the acceleration agreement, which focus on transmission. If you listen to the Honorable Minister very well, you also pick out of his speech that we are now in execution stage. So the time to be talking, I think, is over. Nigerians are tired, and basically they want to see action. So what are we doing as Siemens, as an organization? Technology is not the problem. I think everybody knows that. But now, power projects takes a lot of time. In the last 8 weeks, we have had tremendous progress with the team of the Minister of Power in his office, with TCN, with FGM Power, and we've identified the load centers, the critical points on the grid that is making the grid collapse. And TCN has a lot of data, and they've been also extremely supportive because when the minister came on board, he actually engaged us. He engaged also TCN. He said, you guys, you have to work together, all the stakeholders. So the TCN colleagues have identified brownfields and greenfields. In the brownfields, these are existing substations that we can quickly rehabilitate. And the greenfields are gaps on the grid that we need to build. We've also, if you remember, the minister told you we've supplied 10 mobile substations and transformers in the pilot project. That has already added 272 megawatts to the grid. Currently, if you look at the project that we are doing for the transmission, our plan is to release 4,000 megawatts of stranded power back to the grid. The minister said it clearly. Even if you look at it from the generation aspects and from an energy mix, if you have all the hydros working at full capacity and all the conventional gas turbine working at full capacity, that will add another 8,000 megawatts to the grid. So we, as Siemens, we are currently working with the federal government on that to be able to start the execution of those gaps on the grid. And basically, there's a lot of process to it. Luckily, we have a minister that is very conversant with finance. This is project financing. So we need to be able to accelerate to complete technical and financial closure in due time, because Mr. President has also given the mandate to the Honorable Minister that we should be able to do this in 24 months. So we are working very, very hard to ensure that our part of modernizing the grid, we keep to it. So this is what we have been doing since we signed the agreement in Dubai. And this is what I and the team and our head office are completely focused on, to be able to deliver, part of the value chain to the, to the Nigerian populace. So, I'm pledging and I'm assuring you that we have been getting very good cooperation from the Office of the Minister of Power. Office of the Minister of Finance has been giving us superb support as well. The team in FGM Power, they've been working with our team to ensure that we're able to deliver this. So I think I've been able to put a little bit of context into the agreement that the Minister mentioned earlier. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Shenwu. And yes, please. Truth about pledges, I've had two very strong pledges, or three today. One from the Office of the SA, the second from the Minister of Power, and from you right now. And I've had pledges. I've had one from Remi Babalola when he was the minister, directly speaking on how we'll have 6,000 megawatts. I've heard from Nuhu. I have heard from Geometrics person right now who is, he's galvanizing something in Abia State. I've heard from many ministers of power and many people make pledges. I'd like to hold you on this. The conference will hold you on this, and hopefully we can progress with that. And I hope these things will work. The minister mentioned geometrics. Let's not forget that that was encumbered by policies for 20 years. That area was ring-fenced. It was clearly a job completely done. But politics got in the way, and for 20 years, we kept that power solution. We kept innovations down. We kept accessibility down. We kept access to energy down, and that's where we are today. But it's good we have all of the professionals here. Akindele, I'm coming to you to ask, now that whilst we're doing and traveling, the transition conversation has met us halfway, or met us on the way, and now the grid power solution can't be the only solution. Now we're looking at smart solutions. How do you think these can enhance accessibility and reliability and vis-a-vis innovation as we deploy access to energy? The SA says access to energy is not just having light bulbs in the room. It's about industrializing the country.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. So I think you're really talking about smart technology, right, being introduced to the grid, and there are a lot of opportunities for that, right? First of all, there is the concept of the smart grid, right? And the concept of the smart grid is, just think of it as your normal phone that you use now, your 5G phone, compared to your 2G phone, which was not basically smart. Right, so when you have smart technologies being introduced to the grid essentially becomes more reliable. And I think going back to the minister's point, right, the most important thing is the reliability of the grid. The minister talked about the grid being extremely fragile. It is extremely fragile, and that's why you have constant grid collapses. It's a total grid collapse, it's a partial grid collapse, and sometimes generation goes to very minimal numbers. Now, what smart technology does is that they're able to communicate, right? So solutions, equipment are able to communicate with each other and with the control centers. And what that does is that they can actually tell you when failure would happen. So if this equipment on the grid trending towards failure, they can tell you in advance that failure would happen at some point in time. And what that does is that you begin to then plan around that. You can schedule your maintenance operations, and you can look at your replacement operations before a failure actually happens, and then that reduces unplanned downtime, because what you don't want to happen is that for the grid to collapse at a time you don't want it to. So smart technologies can prevent that. The other thing that smart technologies can also prevent is, we have what we call self-healing, where the grid itself can actually repair itself, so to speak. So when there is a breakage or an outage in a particular section of the grid, it can actually reroute power to other sections of the grid so that the outage is very, very minimal, right? And obviously, with smart technologies, you can actually improve the way you actually allocate energy to the different parts of the grid. So that is what happens. Now, that's looking at it from a grid perspective. Now, to the consumers themselves, they can benefit a lot because at the end of the day, you're able to manage your own usage better because you have smart technologies and smart meters that tell you how you actually consume electricity. I have a few colleagues from South Africa visiting, and we were talking about that yesterday. It's almost like a lifestyle. They're constantly on their app looking at how they manage electricity and reducing wastage, right? So those are the kind of things that you do with smart grid. And you can also manage what you call time pricing, right? Where you want to introduce peak energy pricing, off-peak energy pricing, so that you can encourage more people to use power off-grid. And ultimately, right, I think with smart technologies, we improve reliability. And when the grid is more reliable, the investments that the Honorable Minister talked about would come in. Because as we've said repeatedly, the GDP of any country is very closely tied to the amount of power generated. Right? If you look at the GDP of America, it's very, very big. We've talked about South Korea. It's very closely related to power. So when you look at the smart grid technologies that we talk about, they are very critical to ensuring grid reliability, efficiency, and optimization of the grid. And they can add a lot of value to the way we use power.
Yeah, thank you very much. Allow me to intervene quickly and ask to move over to Shafiq quickly. Just to quickly also say that we don't have smart meters yet, and I hope everybody do know that what we just have are just rechargeable or postpaid or prepaid meters. Until we begin to have then that's a whole lot. So Shafiq, let me come to you quickly and ask, I put down something here which says, what opportunities exist for local capacity building and skills development in the energy sector? Because that's also a critical point, and that will mean technology and skills. Shafiq, please.
Very much. The Honorable Minister, thank you very much for the expression you have given to us. I appreciate your vast knowledge in this system. I've actually played so many roles in the system. I've worked in TCN. During my days in this TCN, I was fortunate to have saved the system from collapsing. I have a letter of certification to that. And I've also worked with my colleagues here. I've worked in Siemens, I've worked in Schneider. In my conclusion in what we have here, before I talk about the capacity building, we also need to look into the data and the digitalizations of the system. The Honorable Minister mentioned that the TCN has started. I think we should go further to emphasize if the data has been contextualized. When were they taken? Were they taken in the peak time? Were they taken in the off-peak time? Can we use it to judge the system? Will the system respond with the data available in use in constructing the network? That by the side is a key thing we need to look into consideration, because without that, you will discover that we are still going back and front. Why is it? I'm of the opinion that the little megawatts we have, we can manage it to avoid forced outages. We can actually manage our outages. You will know that at a certain time, you will not be out, you'll be out of supply, and you can work towards it with even the 3,000 megawatts we are running. If we have all these data in place and the digitalization system is put in place, then come to the capacity building. In my own company, I work with a division of Schneider, Aviva Select West Africa. We are software developers. We organize workshops to develop those who would want to further their interest in this sector. We also issue certificates. We align with some organizations. We also align with some institutions to make sure the correct technology and the day-to-day technology is being given and being driven and being implemented, and to ensure that we get to where we are going, because as we speak, if certain and right informations are not taken into consideration, we might discover that we are still going back and front, like what the Honorable Minister said. Ministers have come, they've gone. He is around now. He has actually elaborated what his plans are. Then capacity building is to help us implement. He also emphasized that he had a meeting with the commissioners who had one-on-one relationship with the consumers at their various states. That is still the element of the capacity building we are talking about. He's able to educate them, give them the knowledge, the role they need to play. And that's part of the capacity building. On our own side, we also The conference here is part of the capacity. If you check the conference hall, you can boldly see our presence there. And we also implement some demo on how to empower us, give us the enable education required in order to have a detailed knowledge of where we are going to. And as we go further, I strongly believe that we will definitely get there. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shafe is quite boisterous, and I think that explains that he's coming from TCN. Those are people who should be held responsible, maybe, for what we are doing, but it's all good. Let me come over to you, ma'am, and you've been into a bit of the spectrum of electricity, helping to build transformers and all of that. Now that we have energy transition and renewable energies, would you know, or what would you say to the barriers that are hindering the adoption of off-grid and decentralized energy solutions? The minister, I mean, we all keep referring to the minister. Everybody can be on the grid, but if we need to decentralize this, what are the encumbrances to this? You may want to comment on this.
So much. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that detailed presentation. You captured almost everything, and most importantly, the area that affects me as someone playing under the private sector space. I have to say it from my perspective as someone, as a private sector who is also adding value to Nigerian energy system. My company has been providing electrical solutions to Nigerians for the past 4 decades. Just towards the end of last year, we celebrated our 40 years. Honorable Minister, we missed your absence. We did everything possible to drag you along. You even didn't send a representative to accept your award. Apologies accepted. Okay, so as we talk about barriers, taking energy to rural areas, underserved areas, my company is playing a very major, player in this area. We built most of the substations in Nigeria. We also had built transmission line projects, 330 kV from Gombe to Damaturu. That's about 18 years or 19 years thereabouts. We also into rural electrification, and this renewable energy is a very recent development, and we have also keyed into this. So our function here is to make sure that we provide electricity to underserved areas. I'm happy that Honorable Minister mentioned the aspect of IRI, a World Bank, as stakeholders in this. I want to concentrate on one thing, which is the Executive Order 5 that was signed by the past administration, where indigenous companies are giving concession, to do a particular thing where they have the capacity. So this World Bank project, which is domiciled in Nigeria, I still find it difficult to define if it is a project meant for Nigerians or foreigners. Because you see Nigerians, you see foreign companies bidding for the same project. Nevertheless, we do our best because being in business for 40 years, we had acquired a lot of experiences. When you bid and you are successful in most of these World Bank projects, either output-based grant or performance-based grant, there will be need for, one of the criteria is that you bring a bank that will guarantee that they will stand by you to do this project. So we did all this. At the point of execution, the bank will always scare you away with high interest rate. That had affected the execution of most of these projects. And then access to funding is very serious, it's very difficult. Most of the banks will want to market you at the point that you need them to provide the fund. They will come up with very on, very difficult conditions that you need to meet before you can have access to funding. So I think this is one of the barriers. Most of those projects have not been completed, not by my company, but by many other Nigerian companies because of access to funding. Thank God the last speaker talked about capacity. One other way we can build capacity as Nigerians, I love collaboration, especially where we don't have the capacity. But most of these components of off-grid systems, they are not manufactured here. So we are deeply dependent on importation. We are not doing much to empower the indigenous companies to begin to manufacture these products locally. As long as we keep importing, the cost of production will continue to increase. So if the federal government is really serious to take power to interiors, to take power to underserved areas, something has to be done. We have resources in Nigeria that when it's harnessed, we can manufacture things like solar panels, we can go into battery manufacturing and some other things. And bringing something like import duty, free import duty on these things will also help to bring down the cost of these components. Because any production you do here that cannot compete with China price, you are on your own. People will still leave your product and go to China. So as we talk about capacity building, we need to find a way to, build capacity in our country such that we don't have to keep relying.
And I'm just going to interrupt you a bit, and I'm looking at the time and I'm looking at the number of people I still have, and it's beginning to sound like we are far from our destination with this I'm hearing now. And we talked about the Energy Bank earlier this year and the meeting. I hope the Energy Bank will also cater for this and not just the oil and gas sector, as it were, because you're making some scary points. But let me come to the representative of the EVP Gas and Power of NNPC, and Mr. Jamal just asked, what are the current trends in natural gas utilization as you see it? I know the GCO tried to point out some of the progress lines and story around the AKK and all of that. But what's the trends in terms of utilization that you see? Because we still have some of the generation companies also complain about gas and being able to also pay the gas producers. What kind of utilizations do you see along the consumption line for gas, natural gas?
Thank you to the moderator. Honorable Minister, sir. Good morning, everyone. I think the minister has said a lot, and it touches every aspect of the energy value chain. But there are, in terms of power availability in this country, thermal generation is the quick win for us to find a solution to power. Not only because we have a lot of gas underground, it's because also government has declared the decade of gas. Gas has been considered globally as a transition fuel, and therefore it is the quick win to find a solution to gas, and therefore utilization of gas is very important. But there's one thing that everyone should know, that if the minimum required by a gas supplier to produce a unit volume of gas is not met, it will discourage investors from investing in bringing this gas. And therefore, whatever we do, whatever grammar we blow, whatever English we speak, that's the basic, that's the fundamental of it, that these gas suppliers must have the minimum it's required for them to make this gas available. And the amount required to make this gas available will come from the end user tariff. Because the money that the end user pays will pay the DISCO for distributing, will pay the electric transmission company, will pay the GENCOs, will pay the gas transmission company, and will pay the gas supplier. The moment these two, the tariff at the end user and the money required to generate a unit volume of gas is not covered, then that model is not sustainable. Therefore, whatever we want to do, we must make sure that gas producers, the minimum they require, government has a lot of agencies that can determine what is the minimum required to produce maybe 1 million BTU or 1,000 million SCF. Whatever you're going to do is that the gas supplier must get that amount to bring the gas out. If he doesn't get that out, it will affect the whole value chain. And what do we have today? Today we have already pegged cost of gas to power, whether it doesn't reflect, it's not cost reflective. Then it goes to GENCOs. GENCO will generate, TCN will transmit, DISCO will distribute, and then the amount paid for the power is regardless of all this cost from the back. And therefore, discourage investment in the gas sector. You will have stranded capacity of the GENCOs. You will have, in fact, here we have had that we have between 12 and 13,000 megawatts capacity. We are doing 4. Gas transmission pipeline, NGIC, a subsidiary of NNPC, their capacity utilization in terms of transmitting gas to GENCO is less than 30%. TCN, we are struggling to reach 7,000 megawatts to transmit. DISCOs 4, and not only 4 that we distribute, payment that comes, probably for maybe 2-point-something megawatts that is fully paid. NBET, bulk purchaser, will pay you probably, the last payment probably was even less than 80%. So it's not sustainable.
Dear Jama, I don't want to have a nervous breakdown. Because, dear audience, are you beginning to see that? It seems like the problems are...
It's not, no, I want to see.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm also looking at the time, like I said, and I want to have others say something and see if we can go around it again. But again, what you're saying pertains to some level and high level of grid solution. We have said that you can use that alone for energy assets, so we can also have off-grid. Granted that these gas issues and gas pricing is a challenge. I'll come back to you. Let me just quickly come to Laura. And just ask you, international corporations and your play in supporting energy access initiatives in Nigeria. What's your agency doing as far as this corporation is concerned? Are you competing? At what level do you meet investors in this country? Is it at the project level or at the initiation levels? I mean, just help us, Laura, on this.
Sounds great. Yes, happy to discuss that. And I think that's something we've heard mentioned, the minister mentioned, and others on this panel have already mentioned, the challenge of access to finance. And that's something that my agency, luckily, is very well positioned to help address. So I'd like to offer maybe a solution to some of the challenges that we're hearing today. I represent the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, or USTDA. And my agency works alongside and in support of U.S. industry to advance the very early stage development of infrastructure projects in emerging economies. We work in sectors that are key to the economic growth of our partner countries, but also that present commercial opportunities for U.S. exports. The sectors, of course, include clean energy, which is why I'm here today, And we have several tools that allow us to provide this assistance, but primarily we provide grant-based assistance. So that's grants for feasibility studies, technical assistance, and pilot projects. Our grant-based funding for project preparation helps us to de-risk and unlock bankable infrastructure projects on the continent. And while we don't provide access to financing ourselves, we don't provide implementation financing, our work enables a pathway to financing to allow public and private sector capital to come in and support our partners' projects. And I'm also positioned under the Power Africa initiative, which is a US government-wide initiative with work from 12 different agencies, making this large network. And together we have the ambitious goal to add at least 30,000 megawatts of new reliable electricity generation capacity, as well as 60 million new home and business connections by 2030. And with much credit to the Power Africa program, USTDA, my agency, has been able to support 136 activities across the continent in the energy sector. The types of work that we pursue address many aspects of the clean energy ecosystem. So from mini grids to large-scale transmission and distribution projects, we seek to strengthen grids through power delivery and utilize US solutions such as battery storage that can help increase reliability. And along those lines, while we focus on power delivery and reliability, we also want to focus on models that have economic viability. So looking at projects with productive uses of energy and support for the commercial industrial sectors. And then additionally and lastly, I would like to note that as an agency, we recognize our responsibility to take on risk. So we really want to seek to pursue more activities in emerging sectors to really position our African partners ahead of the curve. And you mentioned international collaboration. I think that it's also really important to have everybody on the same page, to engage with stakeholders throughout the process of the project implementation lifecycle. So another one of our tools, I know I've mentioned project preparation, but we also have partnership building activities where we'll convene partners from the public and private sectors in African countries as well as the US to discuss best practices, financing models, best regulations, and US technology, of course, that can address some of these challenges. So actually just in a few weeks from now, we'll be hosting a green and sustainable financing workshop in Abuja. This will address issues of green and sustainable financing models and allow really to help unlock some of those financing throughout the continent. And again, I think it's important to emphasize the importance of this collaboration between the private sector, financiers, developers to really create projects that are able to have a smooth transition from preparation to implementation, given that they incorporate best practices really throughout that life cycle. So I might stop there, but thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Laura. Just to be sure that we are not all dressed up with nowhere to go, there has to be that nexus between all of these workings and government policy. So I'll come to you, China. You're with the African Energy Council, and quickly just ask you how regional corporations enhance energy infrastructure development, within the continent. Because I see that you see beyond just, you see from the continental eye view. Yeah, Chile.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great question. But I think if you listen from the first person you asked all the way, everyone's talking about large centralized systems, large grid systems. And I think there's a massive place for them. It extends into the region. We've seen lots of examples all across the world. But I think a very vital ingredient that we miss, I think, is what Minister was talking about. When you listen to him, yes, large systems, 1,000 kilometers of transmission, distribution lines, substations, all of that, really important, really powerful. I think there is a place beyond that for off-grid systems, small, decentralized systems. I think these are our lowest hanging fruit. And I sound like the contrarian in the room right now, but I honestly think that is the biggest thing that we should be looking at in the very short term. Why do I say that? For the last 60, 70 years, we've made massive investments into large centralized systems. Where are we today? The power is not there. If you look across the world, everyone's decentralizing, it's moving away. Because the critical points of failure across a big system, you have several. But if my generation is on my roof right now, I'm producing here my roof, then I'm my NEPA, I'm my transmission line, I'm everything. If it goes off, I can fix it. So I think it leans to the point that many of the people on the panel have spoken about. I'm not advocating at all that small decentralized systems are the solution. I'm talking about a smart system, a system that combines what we have today, which is a large grid system that we have today, but working in tandem with the renewable energy systems that many people often discount. We've seen numerous examples. Look at the estate in Abuja today. Many of them are being run by solar plants with battery systems. And the other thing to say, actually, which you need to watch out for, solar systems in the last 10 years, the cost of a solar panel has plummeted 90%. Think about that for a split second. 90% drop in solar cost. 80% drop in batteries in the last decade alone. So when you look at a trajectory, this is where everything is going. These technologies are reaching price parity with conventional, if not more. So the solution does not need to just be about large centralized systems. I think before we look at large grid systems around Africa where we are exporting power into Niger or Chad or wherever it is, I think we need to focus right here. Let's solve that problem right here with decentralized systems.
All right, thank you very much. Do we also bear in mind that as you try to do that decentralized systems or to create access to energy, I would have loved to ask you, but I'll come to engineer very quickly, but I would love us to ask you, recall that if you do that, you also need to bear in mind that excess capacity has to be paid for. So if you have a unit that can only consume 50 and you're doing 100, you need to offload the extra capacity because that does a lot of, will do a lot of injuries to your books if you don't have that evacuation possibility. So that brings us back to the national grid. Somehow there has to be that collaboration. But I'll come to you, engineer, from Total's Energy, and and just ask you this, how this, I know that Total Energies is doing quite a bit in terms of renewables, I'm talking, Engineer Dewali, and how transition to renewable energy sources contributes on a large scale to universal electricity access. It does appear that all of these things are happening right now in silos, but an integrated offer could help us do the numbers right. Total, from your point of view.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for the question. Good morning, everyone. Clearly today, if you want to improve access to electricity, I mean, it's renewables definitely needs to play a key role. In different parts of the world today, when you look at the last 15 to 20 years, okay, they have really improve the access through renewable power development. Okay, that's it. So when we come to Nigeria and Africa, renewable sources, they're there. So generally speaking, they are infinite by nature. So this needs to be tapped into seriously to improve access. So what do we do at Total Energies in this space? I think it was in January earlier this year, Total Energies was actually declared as the leading solar developer in the world. Okay, so again, the leading solar developer in the world due to the size of the portfolio. The company's got over 41 gigawatts in portfolio today. So our mission is to deliver more energy, more affordable energy, okay, with less emission and in a more sustainable way. And when we come to Nigeria and Africa as well, we're doing this because, I mean, it's in different parts of Africa where we know clearly there's a huge deficit in electricity. We saw this slide presented earlier. Even in South Africa, that has got the highest per capita. So we, Total Energies, we've got solar farms developed in there. Now I want to bring this quickly to Nigeria. So in Nigeria, we have recently established a company that I lead called Total Energies Gas, Renewable and Power. So we heard the minister earlier talking about how do we do this. We all know that in the country today, we've heard a lot. Clearly in 2016, we know that 14 power purchase agreements were signed for renewables. Okay, I mean, till date, none is online. So for me, clearly the country, we need to know how to address this, make that environment actually investor friendly. So our focus in the renewable space right now, because of the problem with the grid, okay, with connecting to the grid, is to focus on what we call the off-grid space, okay, otherwise called commercial and industrial customers. So we're rapidly developing there, and I can tell you today we're doing very small. We're doing a 5 megawatt solar installation right now in Katsina, in Kano. We know that the country is blessed with sunshine. I mean, on the average, we've got at least 11 houses across the country. So even in the deep south, Lagos, when you look at the irradiation in Lagos, it's comparable to what you have in Spain. And they've got gigawatts of solar power being used. So there is no way we can increase the access without developing renewables. Okay, so I think I will stop there.
So I'm just going to allow the panelists to do some 20, 30 seconds of their final words. Quite a lot running through my mind right now and my head as regards this topic. So you see, access to energy isn't just as simple as plug and play, put on the switch light and get it on. There are issues around understanding this, the gas issues around pricing it right from the end and bringing it all the way back and making sure that the cost of producing it is right, accessibility, off-grid, on-grid solutions, investment opportunities. To have your last word, just quickly read us something, a publication by, that reads in parts by McKinsey, talking about assets and how much that could be required in terms of the opportunities that are bound in this space. I just lost that. But I'll just allow you to give your last point. But what the article was trying to say is that over $400 billion will be required in investments. And it pointed out 4 to 5 countries in Africa where this concentration in terms of absorption is to be located: Nigeria, Senegal, Egypt, and one other country. And Senegal, Nigeria, Egypt, and one other country where these investments are needed because there's enough consumption, there's enough market for it. And speaking to that, what may be the missing link and where we need to have and make sure that we're pushing the envelopes quite quickly and at the right direction? Sure.
Yeah. So thank you very much. For me, I will round up in about 4 areas. I think the first thing is that both renewables and conventional energy power, they all play a role and they are all important. What we need to be very specific on is at what point what comes in. We've also all agreed that you can't do all this at the end of the day. You need a solid grid. Another critical point when the special advisor was also giving a message is on the metering side, which I think is very laudable because they are going to reduce to about 12 to 15%. Well, one critical thing in that sector to also bring a lot of transparency, it's the back-end software, harmonization of the back-end software of the various meter producers so that it can bring a lot of transparency in the front end, because people can put meters, but how are they, how do we ensure that the back-end software is harmoniously done together to bring in that transparency? I think that's also very, very important. My last point to leave here today is that I think the Minister of Power has clearly itemized we should all try and support the federal government because we all have a role to play in the value chain of the energy sector. Thank you.
Ajibola? Yep. Let's have your last words.
Yeah, just for me, it's really more food for thought, right? I think when the minister was talking, he highlighted how many times we have total grid collapses, right? And what you typically find is that even when the grid collapses, we all continue working, right? If the grid collapses in the UK and the US and any of the developed countries, it's a massive, massive problem. They literally cannot operate without the grid. But if you look at how we've organized ourselves in Nigeria, we actually do quite often operate without the grid. And so my last word will then be, how do we then focus again on distributed generation. It has to be a very key point for us. As Chairman said, we have to focus on the grid, but we also have to look at distributed generation because it is already happening. The question then is, how do we make it faster and how do we make it cheaper and more affordable for our people so that we can quickly push out power to them at a fast pace and at an affordable rate? Thank you.
Thank you. Shafi?
Yeah, thank you very much for all we have said. Concerning the comment from where you are reading from, I am happy that we have the current act, which has opened up the industry and given the players to come in, play their roles, open up the industry, and we are good to go. The bottlenecks we've had in the past has been broken, and I am sure we will definitely get there. I'm very, very optimistic. So I am happy that we have a direction. Thank you very much.
Madam Jocelyn.
Oh, yeah, my parting word will come from the regulatory framework, you know, the organizations that regulate the off-grid system. There's a lot of overlap functions between most of the organizations. When I try to, you know, start manufacturing smart meters, you have to provide a lot of certifications. NEMSA will give you their own requirements, NIES and all that. When you look at everything together, you see that there's overlap in many of it, and it causes a lot of bottlenecks. So for us to remove most of these barriers, we need to revisit our policies. Where there is overlap, we try to remove it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamari, I hope you're not producing gases or gas that nobody will be able to offtake.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think accessibility of energy to everyone depends on availability and affordability. Availability also depends on investor-friendly environment. An investor-friendly environment will depend on the right compensation for either product or service he rendered. I think we're in the right direction. The minister has said that agreements will be triggered. That means from the gas supplier, willing buyer, willing seller, Genco to Disco, willing buyer, willing seller, and that can go up to the end user. Government can subsidize something. Every government subsidizes one thing or the other for its citizens. Governments can subsidize power, but government should know that whatever amount you subsidize, you have to fund it. Because if you don't fund it, it will affect every other things. Thank you.
Contract activation, that's brilliant. Laura?
Thank you. Yes, this has been a great conversation, and I really would just like to reiterate that I think that there's a lot of potential in the off-grid space and the renewables space if we can really just catalyze those transactions and project implementation. And a great tool for that is just convening stakeholders, carrying out the proper project preparation in order to de-risk specific projects, but also to de-risk the sector and ultimately hopefully lead to more affordable capital and more innovative financial models and economic models for these projects. So I'm very excited to see what's to come in the space, and I think a lot of the work is being led by people on these stage, so thank you.
China, tips, how do we progress from this?
I think if we're to solve energy poverty, I think if we are to do that, we need to think a bit differently to what we're doing today. That's my opinion. I think there's a huge focus, like I see, on the centralized side of things, which I think is fantastic. But as you'd see with many of these things, it's a case of very complex contracting. It's getting real specialists. Most of the understanding is not here in Nigeria. In fact, it's not here in Africa. So you depend on lots of externals to get this done. If we think slightly differently, solar, the skill level of a solar plant is literally artisanal. You can literally walk out of here and find someone who can do it for you, and you find it everywhere. So you need to think about that. If at 2030 that target is a real target, you have to think outside of the box. There are lots of complexities there, and I think sometimes there are traps, actually.
There's a lot around 2030. SDG also gives us a target of 2030. For Total, final words, are you just executing a company policy, or this is tailor-made for this environment and other places where you have interest? Your final words.
What we're doing in Nigeria is tailor-made. clearly, because what we've seen, if you want to go into that space, is the off-grid. Okay, that's what we're doing. And for my parting words, I will say we have a lot of plans in this country. We have what we call Vision 30-30-30, meaning that in 2030, we want to have 30 gigawatt of electricity, 30% coming from renewables. Today, where are we? There's zero renewables on the grid. So why is this not happening? It means the investment environment is not friendly. So seriously speaking, in this country, we need to address those impediments for investors to come and invest in this sector. Access to energy improvement in this country will require a lot of capital, okay? And then money goes, okay, to friendly environments. So seriously, we need to sit down, all these policies that we have, decade of gas, Vision 30-30-30, and see how we can actually implement and execute according to what the Honorable Minister said earlier. So that's it.
Thank you, dear panelists. I just do hope I can mask all of these problems and get the audience here and whoever there's an investor here to look beyond these things and say, you know what, we will invest, we'll do what we need to do. But because I'm seeing a lot of faces and they look quite gloomy, please smile. Let's be sure that power, access, energy is something that can be achieved in the country. Please, a round of applause for yourself and for the panel.
Thank you. Come on. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Permanent Secretary, sir, can you please step forward and present these plaques to our panelists? Thank you very much. Let's begin with Engineer Adeyemi. Thank you. Thank you very much for your insights. That'll be followed by Dr. Chinan Dekwal. Thank you very much for your insights. That'll be followed by Laura Spector. Laura, thank you. You flew all the way to come share this insights. You flew all the way to come share this insights with us. Thank you very much. And that will be followed by Olalekon Ogunleye, represented by the MD of NNPC Gas and Power. Thank you, Mr. Jamari. And of course, 40 years and counting, Lady Josephine Wenze. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your anniversary. Mr. Durisu. I didn't know you have crisscrossed pretty much the entire value chain of the power sector. Now I know. A lot of respect for you. Mr. Kindele, we're confident that yourself and your colleague at Siemens, Mr. Suleiman, you will help us find a solution with a willing minister so that we'll stop saying up NEPA, even though the name has changed for decades. We just somehow, Mr. Suleiman, please. We just somehow don't forget. And of course, Olu Phillips. Phillips, thank you for driving the conversation for us, Mr. Phillips. Thank you very much. Please, I want to make a special appeal. Please, I'm begging. Please. Guys, thank you. I can literally prostrate for you. Literally. Once they leave here, allow them sit down. Your Excellency, we take a picture with them. Please, nobody should come to them. The SGF is on his way. I have a 3-man panel to knock off before he gets here. I think he's even here. I am begging you, don't come to them. Allow them sit. Let me knock off this 3-man panel so the SGF will meet us. We'll take the closing ceremony. Then you can network with everybody you want, including the chairs we are sitting on. I won't mind. But for now, please take pictures, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Hold on. Let them finish the picture. Oh, Erie, sorry, you spoke in this panel. My goodness. When they put me under this time pressure, please allow my SA get in the picture, please. Forgive me. When they put me under these pressures. Okay? Do you have your photographers? You have the pictures. Please take your seats, Saz and Ma. Please take your seats. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. Please give them one more round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please allow them sit down. Allow them sit down. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me quickly welcome the three-man panel who will be speaking when the SGF walks in for the closing ceremony. First off, I'd like to welcome the Chief Executive Officer and Principal Training Institute of Principal Petroleum Training Institute, Efrun Wari. Let's welcome Dr. Henry Adebowale Adimula. You're welcome, Principal, sir. You're welcome. Give me a round of applause. Thank you very much. I want you here, sir. In the middle. Listen, sit here. It's just three people. 1, 2, 3. Okay. There's a gentleman representing. I've been looking for you since. Goodness. Please come. Please come. Please come. Okay, Deputy General Manager Strategic Planning, Engineer Lainka Agbola of the PTDF is representing the ES of the PTDF, and the moderator of the public. Give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. A round of applause for him. And moderating the panel, I'd like to welcome Dr. Mrs. Blessing Enakimio, Director of Event at Brevity Anderson. Give her a round of applause. She will drive the conversation.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and it's a pleasure to be here as your moderator for this panel. I shall stand on all existing protocols just to keep to time. Right, so this panel session is exploring powering economic growth and development in harmony with natural resources, oil and gas, blue economy, energy diplomacy. I'm going to start my questions with you, Dr. Henry, if that's okay. As the CEO of PTI, how can the Institute contribute to fostering inclusive economic growth in oil-rich regions like the Niger Delta, particularly in terms of skill development and capacity building?
Thank you.
It's on.
Thank you very much, the moderator, and my pleasure to be here today, also to speak to the theme of this discourse. The Petroleum Training Institute, by our function, were established to train and develop capacity of Nigerians for the Nigerian oil and gas industry. For 50 years, we have been doing just that, and proud to say that we have contributed our quota to the development of that sector in Nigerian economy. Now, to the specific question of how PTI can contribute also to inclusive economy, our goal is to be sure that we upscale and rescale and give people the necessary tools to be able to participate in this economy. What we do at the Institute is to train and develop capacity, which we have been doing, and specifically to make it more inclusive, especially taking into consideration the needs of the host communities. I believe that one of the reasons why the PI was established was also to be able to take into consideration these communities. We have established functional skills development academy, which we use to train people to have different skills. And I believe that some of the people that we have trained have also been empowered, and today they are entrepreneurs on their own right, and they have set up their own small businesses, which enables them to participate in the economy and also to make a living and not rely on government to provide jobs. So that's one of the things we are doing. And at our stand, we have a number of suits of all these opportunities that we advertise to the people to see exactly what we do.
Okay, thanks for that. If I pick on that same question, following on with you, you talked about the Skills Development Academy. How are you making sure that the delivery of your training is tailored to each, say, location or whatever the context might be? Because the world has changed and how we deliver training has to change as well. How are you identifying the skill gaps in these different locations, and how are you adapting your delivery of your content?
Yes, thank you very much. First, in identification of the skills gap, we partner with a number of critical stakeholders like the NCDMB. We know what shortfall of skills there are in the industry, and we get that information. Taking that information, we use it to develop content, to develop curriculum, which are then delivered to the people. Now, apart from that, we operate in the Niger Delta region of the country, and our years of experience in this region also enabled us to identify what skills the people are actually in need of. We have participated in this through the amnesty program. We have participated with a number of state governments to identify their specific needs, and we have a number of partnerships with these state governments. We have MOUs, and with them and through them, we identify what are their specific needs. These needs are then brought back to the institute, and from there, we drop specific training needs. How do we deliver to make sure that it's in tandem with the next? We use technology a lot,
Okay.
and we have a lot of one-on-one contact. Basically, what we do is to impart skills, and that requires a lot of practical content. So at the institute, we have a number of facilities which enable us to achieve this.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Laink, I'll come to you now. Looking at it from a PTDF point of view, how can the fund support initiatives help PTDF align with sustainable goals around energy development?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me express the apologies of my executive secretary, who will have wanted to be here in person himself, but for some other urgent functions he had to attend to. Then going to your question, PTDF is the agency of government that is directly mandated to develop capacities in the oil and gas industry. And we all know that now the issue of sustainable energy development and keeping to environmental standards is an issue that is on the front burner right now in the energy industry. And we are taking note of that in our capacity building programs, because we relate with the industry a lot, and we get a lot of valuable feedback from the industry from time to time. The skills gap audit he was talking about, it's one of the things we do, which is fundamental to the programs that we develop. We always do a periodic skills gap audit, working with some other partners and other collaborating agencies in the industry. And when we do the skills gap audit, it gives us an idea of the skill set requirements in the oil and gas industry and in the energy industry at large, and the areas of need, where the gaps are. So we have an idea of where we need to build capacities to actually bridge those gaps. And we have a number of programs that we've developed to bridge the gaps. Basically, three major approaches. We have the human capital development programs, we have the institutional support programs, and then we have research and development for technology development. So under the human capital development programs, we offer scholarships at the master's and PhD levels. That's the overseas scholarship for Nigerians to go to some of the top-rated institutions around the world, where they can study in areas that are directly related to the oil and gas industry, to the energy industry. And then locally too, we give scholarships to students in some of the federal universities in the country, and it's an ongoing process. We do it every year. In fact, the Overseas Scholarship Scheme for this year, the process is currently on right now. We advertise, and then we get people to key into that process, and they have to sit for an interview, after which the best ones among them are selected to go for those programs. So we have that scholarship, then we have other training programs, which we have done to bridge the gap on areas where we find that there are skill set requirements. We've done training, welders training and certification program for welders in the oil and gas industry, and we have trained people to different levels of certifications in that area. We also have training for university lecturers, software training on the use of some critical software that are used for seismic interpretation and for exploration work in the oil and gas industry. And then we also have training for also university lecturers in the area of modern tools that are used for conducting teaching and for conducting research, which have benefited them greatly. And when they come back from those courses, they can actually impart knowledge better to the students in the universities. So a number of training programs are being done, not to waste too much time, because we have quite a lot. But I can say that the scholarship program, we've trained more than 14,000 Nigerians since that program started, and it's still ongoing. Every year we look at where are the critical areas of need, and we tailor programs so that we can sponsor people to go and run those programs. And even for people who are already working in the industry in different areas, we have industry training, which is geared towards building their competencies on the job. So while they're on the job, they're also receiving training, and we train most of the agencies of government in the oil industry, in the energy industry, and other areas where training is needed.
Okay, Mr. Olayinka, if I stay with you on that point, you've talked a lot about the scholarships you offer. What's the impact? Have you been able to measure the impact of these scholarships? So when they go to other countries to get these qualifications, do you monitor them as they come back and actually deliver on what they learn? And is what they have learned relevant to what's here in Nigeria? And I suppose, how is it applied?
Yeah, like I told you, before we send people for training, we look at the critical areas of need, the areas that are relevant to the needs of the industry, because we engage with people from the industry on a regular basis. So they are the ones that give us those areas which we now sponsor people to undertake.
Yeah, I get that you sponsor them to go, but the issue I'm asking is, when they've done it and they come back, is there a way to measure that the impact is actually there, that you are achieving the whole point of funding them?
Yeah, we monitor them when they go and come back, and we have a PTDF alumni of scholars, which we use to track the progress of the scholars. Most of them that have gone out, they've come back to take up jobs in the oil and gas industry, and some that are already working, they still come back to their job, and they are doing very well. Some of them are working in different locations around the world right now, mainly due to the training they were able to receive from PTDF. And for the lecturers, what we do is encourage them to go and come back. They come back to the university because we have a collaboration with some of these universities to make sure that the people that are trained are the young lecturers who still have several years to spend in the university, so that they come back and impart knowledge to the students. And of course, we track their progress.
Okay, thank you. This question, I suppose, I'll pose to both of your organizations. Over the years, things have changed. The way vehicles have changed. The way houses are built has changed. But the classroom really hasn't changed that much. You know, you still come in, you've got desks or tables and chairs, and you've got a board in front of you where the teacher would stand to teach. So not much has changed classroom-wise. However, how we learn over time has changed. There's a lot around, obviously, technology-led learning. There's a lot around social learning. Is there any consideration within your organizations on how to adapt your programs to cater for the Gen Zs who obviously learn on the go, information is available to hand? What are you doing to make sure your organizations are sustainable through time?
Thank you very much. Perhaps maybe the structure of the classroom may not have changed very much, but reality, a lot has changed. Okay. We are not training the same way we trained 20, 30 years ago, and especially since the COVID taught all of us a lesson, and we have had to adapt, really. And today it's very possible to learn on the go, as we rightly said. And one of the things we do at the Institute is also to encourage this kind of learning. We have a program for lifelong learning, kind of a school of industrial continuing education, where you can continue to learn at your own pace, using a lot of technology and a lot of materials that are available online. That is what we are doing, and we'll continue to adapt to be sure that we're ahead of the game, really.
Thank you. Mr. Lanka?
Yeah, for us, you know, we have also taken cognizance of that, and inbuilt into our scholarship programs, you know, we always provide laptops for our students. All of them have laptops, even the ones that are studying locally here in the country. And we have also developed some training programs in the use of information technology for different activities in the oil and gas industry. We also sponsor conferences, workshops, and seminars on this particular area, just to sensitize people to the need to embrace IT, because now the world is going IT. You have a lot of people that work now remotely, and people need to have the right skills to be able to function effectively, you know, with that development. So we sponsor a lot of conferences and workshops, and then we are also looking at the issue of digitalization of operations in the oil and gas industry, and to see where we can build capacities so that people can have the necessary skills to be able to function, you know, in a very digital environment.
Okay, thanks for that. My next question, again, might probably be relevant to both of you. When you look at the West and their programs, it's very geared towards cleaner energy. We're moving away from fossil fuels. There's not a lot out there. I think even the University of Oxford has scrapped their petroleum engineering degree. Now, when you're sponsoring sponsoring people to go to the West, for instance, for their training, what they're learning, is it relevant to Nigeria's journey? Or do we need to consider adapting our own training programs that are relevant to where we are on our transition journey? What's your take on that, and what are you doing around that?
Okay. I believe that we should tailor our training to our own needs today. Okay. We're not training for the West first and foremost. We're training for ourselves to develop our energy industry. For us today, our energy is still largely dependent on fossil fuels. And also we are transiting, we are adopting more of gas technology. What we are doing at the Institute is to realize this, and also to consciously establish a center for gas technology development in the country, which we are doing currently in the Institute. We're also doing a lot of R&D. We are realizing that, yes, eventually one day we'll have to transit. Then should we continue the way we are? No, we are getting ready. We are doing a lot of research in these areas to identify what is best for us and now and in the few years to come. So we are adapting, but we are not losing sight of the fact that this is where we are on our own journey, and we have to go at our own pace to derive maximum benefits for our natural resources and exploit it in a sustainable manner.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lanka?
Yeah, for us, we also realize that, you know, we need to concentrate on our own needs right now, just like he has said, while also keeping an eye on the issue of energy transition. We know that the government has made a commitment in that direction for net zero decarbonization by 2060. And now the government has set up an energy transition working group, which already have designed some key objectives to try to increase investment in the area of renewable energy and clean energy, and to improve investments, especially in the power sector, in the transportation sector, and in the cooking sector as well. So we've taken note of that, and we're building capacities, trying to develop different training programs to be able to key into that broad objectives of the government, while at the same time we are also we have not jettisoned our role to also develop capacities as much as possible in the oil and gas industry. So we're looking at some areas of technology to enhance the operations in the oil and gas industry, while at the same time keeping an eye on what developments in the area of energy transition, and to try to see how to build capacities to ensure that government realizes its objective in that area.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up now. If you just give your last 1 minute summary that you would like to share with the audience.
PTL will continue to contribute to development of capacity in this energy sector. Currently, we are developing the national operational standards for all the skills in the oil and gas industry in partnership with critical stakeholders like the NCDMB, Octan, and NBT. We believe that we are positioned now and in the future to continue to deliver on our mandate and to build capacity of Nigerians in the energy sector.
Thank you. Mr. Ilanka.
For us, PTDF, we are fully committed to ensuring that Nigerians participate effectively in the activities in the oil and gas industry as well as in the energy industry, and we will continue to develop new programs, new initiatives to be able to take advantage of developments that are currently occurring in the industry. We will try to support conferences, workshops, and seminars that can advance these issues so that we can bring people together to continue to talk about these issues and to provide solutions where solutions are necessary.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, my panelists, and thank you for your attention as well, audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Before you stand up, just hold on. I'd like to very quickly acknowledge the presence here of His Excellency, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Distinguished Senator Dr. George Akume. Your Excellency, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, Permanent Secretary, sir, if you can please do us the honor, sir, of presenting the plaques to our panelists. Thank you very much. First off, we would like to say thank you to Dr. Henry Adimula, Principal PTI. And next, we would like to say a big thank you to Mr. Agbola, representing his principal, the Executive Secretary of PTDF, and to our moderator, Dr. Blessing Enakimio. Thank you very much. So once Blessing receives, we'll take a quick family photo. Family photo, sir. Family photo for the panel. Let's close the panel quickly, and then please, as soon as you take this photo, kindly go back to your positions. Thank you very much. Sorry, hold on. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please give the panel one more round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. Photographers, please, can you go back to your positions? Thank you very much. Please, now, please, go back to your positions now, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Shall we please rise for the national anthem to begin the closing ceremony? God bless the Republic of Nigeria. We may be seated. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, distinguished Senator Dr. George Akume, Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Your Excellency, distinguished Senator Dr. Heineken Lokobiri, represented Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources, represented by His Excellency Ambassador Nicholas Agbo Ella, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, the Special Advisor to Mr. President on Energy, Mrs. Olu Vahayin, represented by the Team Lead on Power to the SA, Mrs. Arie Onogorowa, heads of agencies of government, particularly those of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources who are here, directors at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, managing directors of international oil companies, of independent oil companies, managing directors of service companies who are here, chairman and president of industry relevant associations who've joined us for this closing ceremony, our most distinguished sponsors and speakers at this conference, our distinguished delegates, members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the closing ceremony of the 7th edition of the Nigeria International Energy Summit. We've been at this since Monday when we began with the Ministerial dinner, and we have arrived today after very many events at the closing ceremony. We are delighted to be joined by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation at this closing ceremony at a conference or summit where we have looked at the new energy world order, we've looked at financing, we've looked at transition, we've looked at security. And through the course of the week, one thing has stayed constant, that we must, as Africans and Nigerians, chart our own course, find our own solutions, and at some point pretend to play deaf ear to some of the things being said against our resources until we industrialize. My name is Richmond Osuji, and I have the honor, privilege, and pleasure to master this closing ceremony. Your Excellency, during the course of the week, there has been a knowledge transfer workshop that has happened during the course of this NIES. It is that of bringing in secondary school students from across Abuja and the country into the room and teaching them a thing or two about the industry. Before we get into the short comments that would lead to your closing thoughts, we'd like to present one or two certificates to these students. Can I have the gentleman with the certificates please come to me now? Real quick. Now this essence, Your Excellency, is to show them what we do in this energy industry, what subjects they can pay attention to, and what role they can play in the future to help us shape this industry. While we're doing that, Your Excellency, let me continue to a remark from the company that has helped the federal government of Nigeria, by extension, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and all her agencies, to put this event together for 7 years and counting, and that is Brevity Anderson. He's going to make a very short comment before I invite the school to get the certificate. He's the event director at NIES, And he is, as well, the Chief Executive Officer of Brevity Anderson. One thing about Brevity is the name might sound English, but the company is wholly Nigeria. Yes, headquartered both here in Abuja and in the United Kingdom. Please, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming this principled Nigerian, Dr. James Shinde. Can you speak that way?
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to stand on existing protocols, but I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the SGF here with us, His Excellency, distinguished Senator Dr. George Akume, who's the SGF. And it's interesting to know that he's been with us since the very first edition of this event. And he's attended some of the sessions with us, and we're happy to have him here with us this morning. So thank you, Excellency, for joining us. Thank you very much. My job here this morning is just very simple and brief. I'd like to just thank everybody who's been part and parcel of this conference. It's been 7 years now, as Richmond has said. And this year we started on Sunday, and now we sadly have to bring this event to a close. Like they say, every good thing has to come to an end. And so I'd like to just thank everybody who's been involved, thank the government for their support, thank the Ministry of Petroleum Resources for their support and encouragement, the LOC members who work with us, and I always do this at the end of every edition. I've got a team of really good people who work with us to produce this event. All in all, if you add all the volunteers, full-time staff, ad hoc staff, we have about 350 people who work together to put this event together. I'd like for us to please just give those people a round of applause for all the hard work they've done. On that note, I'd like to also thank our speakers and our sponsors who've been with us, somehow sponsored this event for 7 years. These people I've seen in this room who've been attending this event for 7 years. And for those who've been with us for the very first time, we hope you come back again. And we'll look forward to seeing you again in 2025. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. James Shinde, Chief Executive Officer, Brevity Anderson, and Event Director for NIES. Thank you. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, from the very get-go of this summit, we have had a team of dedicated and committed rapporteurs collecting all of the solutions that has been provided by our highly esteemed speakers. And throughout this week, they have carefully documented, and in due course, via the event website, you will be getting the communique from this event, and indeed the ministry will be getting it as well, and by extension it will arrive the office of the Secretary of Government of the Federation and the Minister of Petroleum Resources for perhaps policy formulations and indeed encouragements where necessary to the industry. Can we please give our rapporteurs a round of applause? They've done a stellar job. Time will fail us to take comments from our rapporteurs, but be rest assured the communique has been worked on, will be completed, will be shared with you appropriately. I'd like to now welcome, speaking on behalf of both his bosses, whom have had to leave to attend to some other matters assigned to them by Mr. President, His Excellency Ambassador Nicholas Agbo-Ella, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, for his own closing speech at this ceremony.
Your Excellency, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, my dear boss, Senator George Akume, CON, the Special Advisor to Mr. President on Energy, ably represented here by the team lead power in the office, Rie Onaguruwa, heads of agencies of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources here present, chief executives of national and foreign companies, team from Brevity Anderson and the local organizing committee that have been saddled with the preparation of this conference, esteemed participants, distinguished delegates, members of the press, who have covered this event from the last 4 days. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege on behalf of the Minister of Petroleum Resources to address you at the closing ceremony of this wonderful summit. The Ministry of Petroleum Resources, being the anchor of this, deeply appreciate your presence here. As we gather for the closing ceremony of the 7th National Nigerian International Energy Summit, I'm filled with profound sense of accomplishment and gratitude to see all of you staying behind to the end of this session. The summit has been an incredible journey of knowledge sharing, collaboration, and foresight, and it is with great pleasure that I address you on behalf of the Ministers of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, His Excellency Hennekin Dokobari, and his brother, the Honorable Minister of Petroleum Resources, Gas, His Right Honorable Ekwerikwe Ekpo, who are outside the country now on official state function. Please, the apologies are rendered. This NIS 2024 has truly transcended borders, hosting international delegates from over 50 countries who have actively engaged in shaping the discourse of the dynamic energy world order. Moreover, the online stream of the event has exceeded our expectation, raking in about 700,000 participants from the record we've seen. The depth and diversity of perspectives shared during the summit, we know that increase our understanding of the Nigerian energy sector. And we will crystallize that into a comprehensive report that will be shared with you and the government. This invariable document will be transmitted to the Secretary of the Government of the Federation for onward conveyance to the highest level of authority, encapsulating the collective wisdom and insight garnered from this summit. Throughout the summit, we dive into pivotal issues that illuminated the dynamic energy landscape. We address the pressing issues, the pressing need for a sustainable future, and emphasize the urgency of adopting cleaner alternatives and reducing carbon emissions as part of the global energy transition. Discussions underscore the imperatives of energy security, exploring strategies to diversify sources and fortify infrastructure against geopolitical uncertainties. We had the role of technological innovation, including artificial intelligence and digitalization, was acknowledged as a key driver in optimizing energy processes. The summit also underscored the importance of resilience in the face of uncertainties, requiring strategic planning, adaptability, and flexible long-term energy frameworks. To this end, I extend heartfelt appreciation to His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his unwavering support and visionary leadership as the head of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. His dual role as President and substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources has been instrumental in steering the course of our endeavors in the energy sector. A special acknowledgement is due to our Ministers of Petroleum Resources, Oil and Gas, respectively, whom I have mentioned, for their commitment and exemplary leadership in organizing this summit. Their dedication has been a driving force behind the success of NIES 2024. I express deep appreciation to the Secretaries General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, Haytham Al-Gash, and the African Petroleum Producers Organization, Dr. Omar Farouk Ibrahim, for their valuable contribution to the energy discourse. Their insights have enriched our understanding and paved the way for collaborative efforts in addressing global energy challenges. I also express gratitude to the representative of the International Energy Forum, IEF, for their active participation. The diversity of perspective brought to the table has enhanced the depth of our discussion, fostering a spirit of collaboration and shared responsibility in the quest of sustainable energy solution. To our sponsors, exhibitors, delegates, visitors, and the media, your unwavering support has been the bedrock of the success of NIES 2024. Your active engagement has infused vitality into the summit, and we are truly grateful for your continued commitment. I want to extend special thanks to the event planners, Brevity Anderson, for their meticulous planning and flawless execution of the 2024 edition. Your professionalism and commitment to excellence have not gone unnoticed. Thank you so much. We appreciate your invaluable contribution. As we draw the curtains on NIES 2024 close, I am pleased to announce that the Nigerian energy sector looks forward to welcoming the world back again to Nigeria for the 8th edition of the NIES in 2025. We anticipate even greater insight, collaboration, and innovation as we collectively navigate the dynamic energy sector. Before concluding, I would like to highlight a significant development discussed during the NIES 2024, the aspiration of the African Energy Bank. The unanimous opinion of the Nigerian delegation, Your Excellency, is that the federal government should strive to host the bank in Nigeria. And we call upon you, the Secretary General, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, to do whatever is in your endeavor to bring this to realization and fruition. This endeavor is seen as a crucial step in addressing the funding deficiencies within African energy industry, further solidifying Nigeria's commitment to regional energy stability and growth. We sincerely hope that the African Energy Bank initiative fosters increased collaboration and prosperity in the broader African energy landscape. Finally, Your Excellency, let me express my heartfelt gratitude to all participants, speakers, and contributors. Your position for the energy sector and commitment to sustainable practices inspire confidence in our collective ability to shape a brighter and more resilient future. May God bless you all, and for our foreign delegates who are leaving, we wish you journey mercy to your respective countries. God bless you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we thank you, Ambassador Nicholas Agboela, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Petroleum Resources. Thank you so much. Your Excellencies, we have spent a week, as has been said by myself and all the other speakers. In the next couple of minutes, Your Excellency, indulge us to share with you via a video presentation some of the sound bites that has come out of this year's conference. So please, for the next couple of minutes, keep your eyes on the screen and let's take you, Your Excellency, sir, on this journey. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Those are some of the things that went down during the course of this week, from bilateral meetings to business partnerships or new partnerships being formed to, as I said earlier, solutions being offered to policymakers as to how we can continue to advance our developmental course in this industry. One more item on the agenda, and Your Excellency will take his remarks at this closing ceremony, and that is what I said earlier: catching them young, bringing in the young ones, and inspiring them to take their place in helping us shape not just the industry, but indeed the nation in general, especially at a time when young people are, in some quarters, are being inspired by wrong role models. We here play our part in helping shape the mindset of our future. 2 schools have taken part in this year's workshop and attendance at the summit, and would like to ask them to come receive the honor due them by coming to receive the certificate from our most distinguished special guest today. First off, I will invite the schools, and then one after the other, and then I will invite His Excellency to present the certificates to them, take a picture with them, and proceed to make his address at this closing ceremony. Let me begin by inviting students from BRITAC Secondary Schools, Abuja. Please give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Where is BRITAC? Make your way forward, BRITAC. Please, kindly make your way forward. Make your way forward. Give them a round of applause. Don't get tired. This is the future. They will be the ones working in the company you are working now when it's time to collect your pension. Make them feel all right. So your pension will not suffer. Come this way. Come. Just come towards me. Come. Keep coming. 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 Fantastic. Yes. 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 Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. All right. The second school, you know yourselves. You'll be on standby, on alert. Once I ask them to take their seat, you will step forward, all right? The second school, you know yourselves, just please be on standby. Can I respectfully ask Your Excellency, sir, SGF, sir, please, if you can present the certificate to BRITAC Secondary School for attending. Who is receiving? Yourself? Please come. Can I give His Excellency a round of applause as he presents to them? Please get close to His Excellency there. Let's turn it this way, sir. Yes, sir. Your Excellency, please, if you can just take a picture with them. Guys, come forward a bit. Okay, right there in the middle. Your Excellency in the middle, sir. Yes, sir. Let His Excellency be in the middle. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just take a quick picture. Government Secondary School, Tudunwada, be on standby. I need to see you standing like right now. Government Secondary School, Tudunwada, thank you very much. BRITAC, as soon as we're done, you take your seat. Your Excellency, sir, you will indulge us and allow this other school come for their own picture and certificate collection before you make your speech. All right, BRITAC, thank you very much. Please give one round of applause as they take their seats. Thank you very much. All right, please start coming. GSS, Tudunwada, Your Excellency will present to you as well before he makes his speech. Where are you? Thank you. Please give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Government Secondary School, Tudunwada. This is NIES contribution in catching them young. And we thank everyone who has worked with NIES and Brevity Anderson and indeed the Ministry of Human Resources in bringing these ones to attend this event. So let the people in the room be your role models, not Yahoo boys. They're not around. No. We don't want them as role models. No. Who is receiving? Who is receiving? Please step forward. All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Do you have it? Please, for the family. Yes, the photograph. Thank you. Please, a round of applause. If you want to appreciate them, please go ahead. Go ahead. When you send in your consultancy application to the company, they are the ones that will say, okay, he was in the room and clap for us. Please give it to him. You never can tell these things, right? Thank you very much. Photographers, are we done? Please take your position, photographers, now. GSS, student Wada, you can go back to your seat. Your Excellency will now make his speech to the lectern to your right, Your Excellency. Please put your hands together for His Excellency, the distinguished Senator Dr. George Akume, former governor of Benue State, and the secretary to the government of the Federation of Nigeria.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministerial, Petroleum Resources, Ambassador Ella. The essay to Mr. President on energy. Chief Executives of national and foreign oil companies, distinguished stakeholders, esteemed participants, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to stand before you today as we conclude the 7th edition of the Nigerian International Energy Summit 2024. As Secretary to the Government of the Federation, it is indeed a privilege to witness the culmination of this momentous event, which was particular significance as the first edition under the new administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR. The theme of this year's summit, Navigating the Energy World Order, Security, Transition, and Finance, underscores the complexities and challenges that our great nation faces in the dynamic landscape of the global energy sector. This theme is not just a reflection of current realities, but a call to action for all stakeholders to collaboratively address the critical issues that lie at the intersection of energy security, transition, and financial sustainability. The Nigeria International Energy Summit has evolved over the years into the most prestigious gathering of minds in the energy sector. This edition has been no exception. We have been privileged to host industry leaders, policymakers, and experts who have shared their insights, experiences, and expertise. Exchange of ideas and spirited discussions witnessed here have undoubtedly charted a course for the future of energy in our nation. In the spirit of inclusivity and cooperation, this summit has provided a platform for stakeholders to engage in meaningful discussions on innovations, policies, advancements, and overall trajectory of the energy sector in Nigeria. The knowledge shared and relationship fostered during the summit will undoubtedly serve as a catalyst for the transformative changes that lie ahead. I wish to express my sincere appreciation to all the participants, sponsors, and partners who have contributed to the success of this summit. Your commitment to the sustainable development of the energy sector in Nigeria is commendable, and I'm confident that the collaborative efforts initiated here will yield tangible results in the days and years to come. To bring to an end the 7th edition of this summit, let us carry forward the momentum generated during these insightful discussions. Let us remain committed to the ideas of energy security, transition to sustainable practices, and the financial viability of our energy sector. This summit will indeed serve as a catalyst for positive change, innovation, and resilience in the face of the challenges that lie ahead. I look forward to witnessing the impact of the ideas and strategies generated here as we work together to navigate the new energy world order with a renewed hope agenda of this administration. I want to assure the summit that the request of the Permanent Secretary, speaking on behalf of Ministers of State, will be conveyed appropriately to the right quarters. God bless you all. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. While he's still standing, can we please take the national anthem to close the 7th edition of NIES? God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please, who may be seated and allow His Excellency exit. Kindly remain seated as His Excellency exit. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Can I give him one more round of applause? Thank you very much. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. It is the end of NIES for 2024. But remember this evening, we're going to be back this evening. And here, please join that picture. We're going to come back this evening. We're going to come back this evening here in this room for the NNPC sponsored closing concert that will include the different game shows that we'll have for you tonight. So please see you back here at 7 p.m. Come ready to party. If you ask me, I would say it's not an evening where you knot up your tie, bow, or conventional. But let me also quickly say this. 4 people, it's not inside here. It's outside. Okay, it's outside. Okay, but it's still at the ICC. And then there will be a press interview with the Brevity Anderson team. Just as I'm done talking and the pictures taking place is done with. Okay, so see you all back here at 7. Of course, the networking will continue at that time. The partying would go on and on at that time. My name is Richmond Osuji. It's been my pleasure serving you all. See you later. Bye-bye.